Now that the 2024-25 League 2 campaign has officially come to a close and Bradford City have finished in third and will be playing League 1 football next season, in today's video we're going to go through our 34-man first team squad going into this summer and decide whether every player should be kept, sold, loaned out or have their contract exited come the end of this season. There's a lot to get through, a lot of players, a lot of discussion points as well. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 250 likes on today's video will be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Do you agree or disagree with what I do go on to suggest in today's video? Who's a player you think we must keep? Who's a player that you think we must sell as well? But let's waste no further time and get straight into it. Now, normally when I do these end of season videos talking about players who are out of contract, who needs to stay, leave, all that type of stuff, they're quite easy to do because normally Bradford City have finished mid-table in League 2 and I'm looking forward to seeing the back of the majority of the squad. Now we've got promoted, it makes it a lot harder to do, but we all know if we are to be competitive in League 1 next season, we're going to need to bring in 7 or 8 top quality players to even be competitive, because it is obviously a much better division. We've not ran away with the League 2 title, we've finished third only by a point. It's a brilliant achievement. Every single player on this list will have gone down in Bradford City's history books because they have contributed to an automatic promotion which just never happens at Bradford City. So before I do get into talking about all these players individually, they're all absolute legends. I can't thank them all enough, but sometimes it just has to be done, and in football you have to be ruthless if you want to be successful next season. I do think we're going to need to see a little bit of a turnover this summer. We'll try and go through the easy ones at the start and then we'll come to the ones at the end which are a little bit more of a debate. Starting out firstly with a player I think Bradford City absolutely have to keep going into next season, Andy Cook. Yes, he's currently injured, but there is nobody who deserves that promotion more at Bradford City than Andy Cook. He's kept us in the division over the last couple of years. Absolutely top player. I'm sure he'll smash it when he's fit and available next season in League 1. I don't know when he'll roughly be back. I don't know if he'll make pre-season. I don't know if he'll make the opening day. Not 100% sure. I don't think we need to rush him back. We'll hopefully get another striker or two in this summer, but the guy's an absolute legend, so he's definitely a player who must stay. In terms of a player who definitely must have their contract exited this summer, Dane Oliver. His deal with Bradford City is finally expiring. Obviously joined Shrewsbury Town on loan in January. I think he's got maybe 2 goals since he joined them, a couple of assists as well. If you actually saw his assist on Saturday, he flicked the ball up, tried to do an overhead kick shot towards goal, and it ended up turning out to be a very, very good assist, but an absolute waste of money for what, 3.5-4 grand a week, 3-year contract. On paper looked like a decent signing, but one that just never worked out. I don't even think he hit 5 league goals in his 3 years with Bradford City, so he's definitely a player who must leave. Another player who definitely must be kept by Bradford City going into next season is Bobby Point, and obviously signed a deal until 2026. I think I'm right in saying there is an option in there for a further season, but I think even if we were in League 2, Point might have stayed around for another season. With him being a Bradford City fan, he has achieved the dream that every fan wants, not only to play for your boyhood club, the club that you've always supported, to be one of the best players in an automatic promotion winning season. He should be so proud of himself. He's an absolutely unbelievable talent, and now we're in League 1, I think it'll take a couple of £1 million for him to move on, and like 20 grand a week, because he absolutely loves the club. The fans absolutely love him, and you look at the celebrations, 99% of fans went straight to Bobby Poynton because he deserves that moment so much, and definitely a player that we should be keeping around for next season. Ben is obviously a man that I don't think has actually featured in a league matchday squad in the calendar year of 2025. So he's a player who wouldn't be looking to get back for next season. Did very well in the first couple of months of his loan, got a couple of assists and looked decent in that right wing back position. But since Brad Halliday's come back into the side, Ben's really struggled to get back into the matchday squad. I actually met him on Saturday night. Great fella. Wish him all the best for the rest of his career. I think he'll probably get another loan move out to League 2 next season. I think if he is still contracted with Lincoln City, I thank him. I wish him all the very best, but he's not a player that I'll be looking to have back for next campaign. Next up then, we will go to Brad Halliday. We were just speaking about him there. He is another player that I definitely think Bradford City should be looking to keep around for next season. We'll obviously get on to Callum Johnson in a moment, but I think Brad Halliday will probably be a starter, certainly in the first couple of months of the season, going into League 1 next campaign. It's always, over the last couple of seasons, really been a thing with Brad Halliday where he's not necessarily necessarily been the starting right wing back for the first couple of months, and I don't think he was amazing at the start of the season, but since the turn of the year, we've seen the Brad Halliday that we saw last campaign, absolutely outstanding, scored a couple of very important goals as well, you know, the equaliser away at Salford, put us in front away at Swindon, a few assists from them long throws as well. I think he's been absolutely outstanding in the second half of the season, so definitely a player that we should be looking to keep around for next campaign. And next up then, we will go to Alex Patterson. Again, another very simple one for me, definitely a player that we're looking to keep around for next season. Obviously, he's kept himself fit a lot longer this year than what he did at last campaign, which was largely ruined with injuries despite a very good start for Bradford City. But we've seen him score a fair few worldies this season. We've seen him pick up the ball from the halfway line, dribble past a couple of players and find the bottom corner as well. He has been an absolute joy to watch for the large part this season. Hopefully, he can have a fully injury-free season next campaign. He can play a full 46 games because him and his partner in crime in that midfield have been outstanding when they've played together in that midfield. So Patterson, for me, definitely a player that should be kept around for next season. Maybe one that we should be looking at giving a new contract to. I think he's coming into his prime years, 26, 27, something like that, and obviously out of a deal with the club next summer, so definitely a player that we're looking to keep around and maybe give a new contract to as well. Colin Doyle is a pretty simple one for me in terms of as a player. I mean, I know I've been saying this for the last couple of seasons, but as a player, I would let his contract exit, but I definitely would keep him on as a goalkeeping coach. Now that obviously we have Sam Walker, Joe Hilton and Zach Hady, I don't think we need to still be registering our 41-year-old goalkeeping coach as a player. I just don't think it's needed. Definitely would keep him around as a coach though, but as a player, I would let his contract exit. Next up then, we'll go to Anthony Sarcevic. Scored the goal that sent Bradford City up into League One. It might potentially have gone down as an own goal, but everybody is going to remember Anthony Sarcevic, 90+6, goes down as a legend at Bradford City. Obviously has struggled with injuries throughout this season, missed 4 months of the season after the first 3 games with a knee injury, and obviously missed a month, 6 weeks, something like that, with a hamstring problem. Even then though, he's probably been one of our top 5 players of the season, missed a promotion himself. I think he's now won 9 individual promotions as a footballer, absolutely outstanding, and we're finally going to see Anthony Sarcevic be tested at League One level. That's kind of always how it's worked really for Sars. He signs for a League 2 club, they don't get promoted in their first season, they get promoted in their second season, and then he kind of leaves and goes back to another top-end League 2 club. This time around, he's going to get his shot at League 1 level, and I'm sure he'll absolutely smash it next season. Again, met him on Saturday, an absolute top bloke, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to going on the piss with Sarcevic for hopefully one more time next season, and many more to come as well. Next up then, we will go to Sam Stubbs. Has obviously been out on loan at Cheltenham Town for all of this season, and it sounds like he's done quite well there, but if he wasn't good enough for Graham Alexander in League 2, then why would he be good enough in League 1? I think a decent servant to Bradford City, done well at Cheltenham, but has made a fair few mistakes which have led to goals that Cheltenham have conceded. Great guy and all that sort of stuff. Obviously contributed to our playoff season in the second half of that campaign, but I think now is the right time for Sam Stubbs to move on. Next up then, we will go to Richie Smallwood, definitely a player that I'd be looking to offer a new contract to going into next season. We've all seen how important and how good he has been so far this year. Yes, at times his set pieces can be a little bit disappointing, that one that he did in the second half at Fleetwood, but on the whole, absolutely outstanding. I've been a massive fan of Richie Smallwood under Graham Alexander. I think he's definitely got the best out of him. Him and Alex Patterson have been absolutely brilliant as them holding midfielders. Great penalty taker. I know he missed the one at Port Vale, but that's about it really. Absolutely outstanding, and definitely a player that we should be offering a new contract to. Maybe a year with an option, maybe a 2-year deal just because of his age and obviously going up a division, but absolutely fantastic captain. I think he's the only captain in this millennium since the turn of 2000 to win an automatic promotion with Bradford City, so definitely a player that should be kept around for next season. Next up then, we will go to Tyler Smith. Obviously joined Barrow on loan in January. I think he's got around 5 or 6 goals with them, at a contract with the club at the end of next season, so we are going to need to make a decision there. I don't think he'll be kept around. It's either sell or loan, whichever one that you can do. Maybe try and sell him while he's got a little bit of a reputation there, where he's obviously done quite well at Barrow. He might go back there. Wages could potentially be a bit of a problem with him, obviously signing a 3-year deal from Hull City. I would assume between 2 and 3 grand a week potentially, so that's obviously not ideal. It might be be a loan then from that point of view, but definitely not a player I think will be good enough for League One if obviously he wasn't good enough for League Two. Jack Shepherd is obviously a man that I'd love for Bradford City to keep around for next season. I think the only way that we're going to see him back in a Bradford City shirt is if we pay a pretty significant transfer fee. Obviously signed a new deal with Barnsley in the summer. I was surprised that they didn't recall him in January with how bad their defence has been this season at Barnsley. I think he'll go in there, probably start straight away, but it's always worth an ask. Try and get him back for next season. If the transfer fee can be right, he's obviously a player who's going to go on to much better things than Bradford City and Barnsley. Definitely got the potential to play in at least the Championship next season. Absolutely top player, been outstanding, probably the best centre-half in the division this year. If we can keep him around for next season, I'd absolutely love that, but it does seem pretty unlikely. Next up then, we will go to Lewis Richards, a player that I really do like, especially this season. I would like to see him be kept around for next year. Met him on Saturday, we had a really good conversation. I was kind of tuning his ear off, saying that, you know, you're really good, you need to stay. Can't really remember much else of the conversation, but when he's been fit, when he's been available this year, I think he's been outstandanding. That pre-season under Alexander, I think, has done him the absolute world of good. Absolutely brilliant at left wing back this year for me, so definitely a player I'll be looking to offer another 2-year contract with an option of a further year, because I think there's potential there for him to get better and better. Obviously scored a couple of goals, might have had a couple of assists in there as well, so yeah, definitely will be looking to keep Lewis Richards around for next season. Next up then, we will go to Paul Huntington. I think he's done a very good job this year for Bradford City. Obviously came in around October time, did the job that he was asked to do, consistent 7 or 8 out of 10 in the majority of games. Had the odd game where he wasn't outstanding, like Notts County away, where he did make a couple of mistakes, but on the whole seemed to be a great character around the dressing room. But I think now is probably the time to let his contract be exited. I think he'll go to another League 2 club next year, absolutely smash it. I wish him all the best. I thank him so much for what he's contributed to Bradford City this season. Aerially, an absolute monster, brings a wealth of experience, but I think going into League One next year, he is a player that we could be looking to improve on. So for me personally, that is what I would be looking to do. So again, thank you to Paul Huntington, but I think now is the right time to move on. We'll go through a couple of the younger lads, the likes of Gabriel Wadsworth, Harry Ibbotson, Zach Hadey. They obviously signed first-year pros in the summer, and I think only Harry Ibbotson has featured in competitive matches for Bradford City. Maybe Gabriel Wadsworth had 1 or 2 EFL trophy appearances. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but they're all very young lads. We don't have an under-21s or an under-23, so there's not really much pathway through to the first team. Obviously, Ibbotson came on for a couple of minutes against Birmingham. I feel like Wadsworth might have played against Rotherham potentially in the EFL trophy, but I just could be completely making that up. All 3 of them though, that being Hadey, Wadsworth and Ibbotson, I will be looking to keep around for next season and send them out on loan once again, because I think just giving them 1 year to prove themselves, we don't really know as supporters what they're all about. Hadey's obviously a player that we rate very highly because he's done a little bit of travelling, all that sort of stuff with England's academy setup. Harry Ibbotson scored a lot of goals. Gabriel Wadsworth seems like a decent talent as well, but I've not really seen much of them to potentially comment too highly on. Obviously Ibbotson had a couple of loans with Kidderminster and also Guiseley as well, and I wouldn't say particularly did amazing there, but he scored a couple of goals, so I'd definitely be looking to send all 3 of them out on loan for next season. Joe Hilton obviously signed from Blackburn in the January transfer window on a contract until the end of next season. We've not seen him kick a ball whatsoever. He's warmed the bench very nicely, so I'd keep him around for next season. Let's see in pre-season what he is all about. I don't think we would have signed him. I think we paid a bit of money for him in January. I don't think we'd have signed him on an 18-month contract to just get rid of him this summer. So again, definitely a player I'll be looking to keep around for next year. Out of the 18 players that I've gone through then so far, I'm very confident and happy with the decisions that I have made. The rest of them, I believe there is a debate to be had about. There's an argument either way for a lot of these players, in my opinion. If you are enjoying today's video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. 250 likes, as I mentioned at the start of today's video, would be massively appreciated. But like I say, there's an argument either for or against all of these players, so whatever you do with them, for me, I could probably be swayed either way. So we'll start out firstly then with George Lapsley. Obviously came on off the bench on Saturday, and whether intentionally or not, gets the assist for the goal that has sent us up into League One, and has done quite well on the whole since joining on a 2.5-year contract from Gillingham in January. Obviously got a brace against Colchester, got a brace against Cheltenham as well, and maybe hasn't played as much football as what he would of light. But I do think there's a good player in Lapsley. When he's on it, he's very lively. He loves to run across the front post. I think he's very active. He's still got another 2 years left on his contract. So he's definitely a player that we'll be looking to keep around for next season. I don't see him being a regular starter, but he's obviously having Sarcevic and Poynton. But when he's needed, I think he'll come on. I think he'll impact the game. So he's a player that I would probably definitely keep around for next season. Next up then, we will go to Brandon Kayler. Again, obviously, he joined on loan from Birmingham in January, and I think on the whole, did very well. Obviously, his minutes at the start were quite limited. Played as a holding midfielder when Patterson was obviously suffering with his appendix problem. Played as an attacking midfielder at times as well. And I do think on the whole, he's a player that will be looking to get around for next season. Judging by his Instagram and Twitter posts, it sounds like his time at Bradford City probably is done, saying that obviously the club will forever be in his heart and all that sort of stuff. I don't see him going back and playing regularly for Birmingham in the Championship. I do think he'll probably be in League One next season. Will that be with Bradford City? I guess only time will tell. But as a holding midfielder or attacking midfielder, I do think he has done quite well on the whole. So if possible, a player that we're looking to get back on loan for next year, or maybe even on a permanent. But I do think Birmingham probably rate him a bit too highly and he'll be a little bit out of our price range. Teo Adaramola has obviously received a lot of love from Bradford City fans since joining on loan from Crystal Palace on a transfer deadline day. Obviously, since he's come in, he's played and started, I think, pretty much every game, in all honesty. Obviously, Lewis Richards has been injured for the majority of that time. I think his only game where Adaramola hasn't started was Bromley away, where obviously Richards picked up another injury after just coming back from an injury in that one. But Adaramola, I think he's out of contract with Palace in this summer. Done very well on the whole, I think 3 or 4 assists. Defensively, I do have a few question marks over him going forward. Obviously, a real talent, gets 1v1, real pacey player, and I think on the whole, a player that I would be looking to sign. Clearly one with a lot of potential, still a little bit raw at times, but I think for the age that he's at, a permanent would be a brilliant signing, even if it's on loan, for another season. I think having Richards and Adaramola to compete in that left wing back position would be very good for us. So if I'm keeping Richards and I'm keeping Teo Adaramola, there's then not really much room for Tyreek Wright, in my opinion. Obviously, he joined for a third time in the summer. We paid an undisclosed fee for him from Plymouth Argyle. We've seen Tyreek Wright didn't particularly set League One alight when he was with Plymouth in that left wing back position. Now he's going to be third choice in there as well. I don't see him playing regularly as a number 10 either. If we do obviously stick with the 2 attacking midfielders, we might go back to 2 strikers when Andy Cook is back as well. But Tyreek Wright, for me, being a good servant across his 3 spells with the football club, but I think at times just lacks a little bit of quality in League 2. I don't see him being good enough for League 1. You've got to be ruthless. You've got to make these decisions. So for me personally, I will be looking to sell him going into this summer. Again, he'll go down as a legend. He's part of that promotion squad, but I don't believe he will be good enough for League One in next season, in my opinion. Aidan Baldwin obviously had his moment of madness away at Doncaster, and he has had a few clumsy experiences this season with Bradford City, like the red card at Doncaster, the penalty away at Barrow, but I would say on the whole has been very good when he's being fit and available. You look at the record when he's in the side, when he's out the side, we don't lose many games when Aidan Baldwin does start, and when he doesn't start, we do lose a lot of games and we do tend to concede a lot more goals as well. Obviously, we kept a clean sheet on Saturday without him. I don't think Fleetwood really had much from an attacking point of view. I certainly think he plays better as a right centre-back rather than a central centre-back. I'm not 100% sure if he'll be a starter next season for Bradford City, because I do think he does have a mistake in him, but on the whole, as a defender for Bradford City this year, I think he's done a very, very good job. Certainly did better than what my expectations were when he came in from Notts County. Their fans on the whole said, he wasn't very good. He makes a lot of mistakes, and we did see the odd mistake here or there, but I think his passing ability is absolutely brilliant. Defensively, being very solid as well on the whole. At the start, I wasn't entirely convinced. Now, I do think he is a good player. His red card at Doncaster hasn't cost us. There is still going to be a little bit of frustration and frostiness from the fans because it could have done on another day. It hasn't though, so he's definitely a player that we're looking to keep around for next season. Next up then, we will go to Michael Mellon, obviously joined on loan from Burnley in January, scored 2 goals, 1 at home to Cheltenham and a 94th minute winner away at Salford City. Done very well, I would say on the whole. Maybe hasn't quite gone the way he wanted to. At times, people like Jamie Walker and Tommy Lee getting minutes over Mellon. I don't think he was treated the best by Graham Alexander, obviously playing midfielders over a striker when Callum Kavanagh wasn't available or was being substituted. But I think he is a player who will say, well done, thank you for what you contributed this season, but not one that I'd be desperate to get back for next year. With us having Andy Cook, we've still got Callum Kavanagh to talk about as well. We're going to hopefully bring in another striker or two. I don't think Michael Mellon should be one of them, and I think he actually said that he signed a new contract with Burnley as well before he came out on loan, so it's not like he's out of a deal with them. We can't pick him up on a free transfer, so it'll either be another loan or a pretty decent transfer fee I would probably be required. So I would say he might go back to League 2, hopefully play regular football. Thank you very much, Michael Mellon, for your service. You've gone down as a Bradford City legend, but I think now is probably the best time to part ways. Adam Wilson obviously joined on a 3-year contract under Mark Hughes to play as a right winger in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Obviously, it didn't last very long, did Mark Hughes? After Wilson came in, Alexander came in, and then we just stopped playing with wingers. His best period at Bradford City was obviously under Kevin McDonald, but I think going into the summer, he's a player that I think we should be looking to sell. Just one that hasn't really worked out. Not really much else to be said. I think he's gone out on loan to Wales this season, actually won a treble, scored a lot of goals, got a lot of assists, but it's in Wales with TNS. That's like losing your virginity to a prostitute. I think if he ever wanted to make it at Bradford City, he needed to go out on loan to the National League this season, do very well there, come back next season and prove your point. Obviously played largely as a wing-back in pre-season this year, and I just think it is best for all parties if he is sold. He might even go back to TNS on a permanent deal. Next up then, we will go to Romany Critchlow. Again, obviously signed on a permanent deal from Peterborough in January when we knew about Kieran Kelly's injury, and I think it's fair to say hasn't been the same player that he was the first time around that we had him. Massively struggled in League One with Peterborough United, and again, if we're being ruthless, I personally wouldn't keep him around for next season. Again, he's been a brilliant servant to Bradford City. I think the way that he's just gone about his business, his connection with the fans, he has been absolutely outstanding. But from a footballing perspective, again, we've got to have that perspective. You've got to take their footballing ability in isolation. I think we do need to improve on Critchlow going into next season. I think he's still more than good enough to be competing at the top end of League 2. Don't be surprised to see him go to an MK Dons, for example, in the summer. But from what I've seen of Critchlow in the second half of this season, I personally wouldn't be looking to have him around for next year. Brilliant servant. Can't thank him enough for what he's done for the football club, but I think again now is the best time to move on. Next up then, we will go to Tommy Lee, obviously signed from MK Dons on a 2.5-year contract in the January. Hasn't quite hit the ground running, scored a couple of goals with MK Dons, done very well at Accrington before that. His time at Bradford City so far hasn't been amazing. I don't think he's actually registered a goal contribution, but I do think Alexander has misused him a lot at times. I don't think he's a striker. I don't even necessarily think he's an attacking midfielder. I think if you play him alongside Richie Smallwood, he will be a good player for Bradford City. We saw, obviously, he came on at half-time against Fleetwood Town on Saturday, played alongside Smallwood, and probably had his best game in a Bradford City shirt. He's a player that we'll be looking to keep around for next season. Still got another 2 years left on his contract as well. So a player I'll be looking to keep around for next year. See how he's getting on up until January time. Might then require a loan potentially if he's then not really kicked on. But I do think there's a good player in Tommy Lee. It is all just about being a little bit patient. We can't write him off after just 6 months. He's got another 2 years left on his contract, so he's a player that I'll be looking to keep around. Jamie Walker, again, been another outstanding servant to Bradford City. His minutes haven't been as much this season as what they have been in previous years. I don't think he's picked up an injury whatsoever so far this year, so he has actually been fully injury free, and that might have come because we've not had to rely on him as much this season. I think ends this year at Bradford City as our highest assister. Can't thank him enough for his service to the football club, but I think now is the best time for all parties for him to move on. I still think he's more than good enough to be playing at the top end of League 2, but I think going into next season when we've already got Lee, Lapsley, Sarsvik, Poynton, that's 4 attacking midfielders that are definitely going to be around for next year. Is Jamie Walker going to be happy to play as a 5th choice? He's more than good enough to be playing regular in League 2, and I think at his age he does need to still be playing regular first team football. Can't thank him enough for what he's done for Bradford City. Absolute legend, been a great servant to the football club, but I think now is the best time for all parties for him to move on. Next up then, we will go to Clark Adore. Obviously signed a 3-year contract 2 years ago, so still got another year left on his deal. Hasn't featured much so far this season. I think he's only had one league appearance since his goal on New Year's Day against Barrow, and that was obviously at home to Cheltenham, where he got 15 minutes on off the bench when the game was already done. I don't see him playing much of a part next season. Being a decent servant, I think there's a lot of talent in Clark-Ador, but he just doesn't show it on a consistent enough basis for me. So I wouldn't look to sell him. I look to send him out on loan, maybe even if it's just for the first half of next season. Get him playing regular in League Two, see what he can produce when he's playing regular. Maybe he needs to be relied on more to be the main man at a club, and that's maybe where you'll get the best out of him. But we've unfortunately just not quite seen it so far at Bradford City. I hope that he can come good, and I hope that if he does go out on loan, he absolutely smashes it next season, but I just don't see him playing next season for Bradford City, so it makes sense for us and for him to go out and play some regular first-team football elsewhere. 5 players are left to go then. Next up, we will go to Callum Kavanagh. Obviously, he's still got another year left on his contract. I think he's got 9 league goals this season, a couple of assists in there as well, and I've always been somebody who's maybe been a little bit overcritical of Callum Kavanagh, but I do think at times it's not necessarily been his fault because we're not playing to his strength. I think he's a very good presser. He's a very, very good poacher as well. He's not a back-to-goal type striker. His hold-up play isn't amazing. His first touch isn't particularly amazing, but I do think he's a player that I'll be looking to keep around for next season. Now, at his age, because he's so young, he does need to be playing regularly to develop, but then when Andy Cook comes back, you're then going to bring in another striker or two as well. It's going to be interesting to see how Alexander does go about managing everybody's minutes and making sure you keep everybody happy, but we've seen throughout the 18 months that Callum Kavanagh has been with Bradford City that there is going to be a good player in there. He is still very young. We are going to need to be patient with him at times as well. I think he's done very well since Andy Cook's injury. The first half of the season, I don't think he was particularly amazing. At times, he did drop a few clangers. The likes of Grimsby away will always stand out for me. He was absolutely dreadful in that game, but you look at his first half hat-trick against Swindon to contradict that. You know, there is going to be a good player in Callum Kavanagh. We are going to need to be patient at times, but he is somebody that I would be looking to keep around. Next up then, we will go to Neil Byrne. Obviously, we paid a fee for him to join from Stockport County last summer. He's obviously won back-to-back promotions, similar with Anthony Sarcevic out of League Two, and he's one that I'm massively unsure on for me. I think I am just edging to keep him around for next year. I don't think he'll be a regular starter. I think we need to get a better middle centre-half in. He's definitely not a right centre-back. He struggled a lot in League 2. In League 1, I think he would get massively exposed playing in that position because his passing isn't amazing. He's a 6 out of 10 most weeks, kind of does his job very well to a consistent enough level. I don't think he's not the most flashy of players. You know, he's not one that you're going to pay your money to go and watch regularly. He kind of just does his job. A decent threat from set pieces, lots of experience, which I think we're going to need going into next season. Not a player that I see playing regularly, but one that I would probably keep around as a backup option. 3 players left to go then, and now all 3 of these, I could definitely understand your reason for keeping or for letting their contract exit come the end of next season. We must remember, I already have a 16-man squad going into next season. Alexander probably wants to work with a 25 to 28-man squad potentially, depending on how many youngsters you have in, not including the players that are out on loan as well. So if I keep all 3 of these, that's a 19-man squad, and you're only looking at then 6 to 9 signings. I think we need a little bit more than that, so that is certainly going to factor into my decisions. We'll start out firstly with Kieran Kelly. Obviously joined 2.5 years ago from Bohemians. Didn't really play much in the first 6 months because we obviously had Platt, Critchlow and Stubbs. Last year played, I think his most amount in a full season for Bradford City, was quite irregular and at times was a little bit naive, was still kind of learning his trade regularly in English football. This year has massively struggled with injuries. Obviously had I think it was an ankle fracture or broke his foot, something like that, away at Walsall, and we didn't see him for quite a long time. When he eventually came back into the side, went off away at AFC Wimbledon at the start of February with a hamstring injury, then came back in, was in and out of the side at times as well, and obviously picked up that injury at home to Notts County, which saw him miss 3 or 4 matches and obviously played the final game of the season against Fleetwood. So a player that has massively struggled with injuries. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think has massively stood out. There has been games I thought he's looked very good, but there's also been games this season where I thought, goodness me, he looks absolutely miles off it. Like Port Vale away, for example, in that first half, he was absolutely terrible. I do think he's more than good enough to be playing regular in League 2. I don't think he's good enough, though, to be playing regular in League 1 for me. I think he's obviously very physical. He's done well in his time with Bradford City, but I think if we're being ruthless going into next season, he isn't a player that we'll be looking to keep around for next year. I could understand the argument to keep him around, but I think if we're going to look to kick on and be competitive in League 1 next season, you are going to need to make some tough decisions. I thank Kieran Kelly. He's been a brilliant servant to Bradford City, but I think now is the right time to move on. This is so hard to do when you're being promoted. Callum Johnson, again, another very, very tricky one. Missed the first half of the season with an injury that he picked up before he'd even signed for Bradford City. We're just getting knock after knock when he looked like you were getting close to being back. Eventually, obviously scored on debut away at Aston Villa, and I think in the minutes that he had, did very well as a right-sided centre-half, provided some decent cover as well for Brad Halliday at right wing-back, and he's one that I'm just massively torn on, because I think when he's fit and available, has been very good. We've seen some of his performances, like at home to MK Dons, for example, as a right centre-half, absolutely outstanding, and we know that in League 1, it's less more of a physically demanding league, and more of a technical demanding league, and I do think that suits Johnson a bit more, playing as a right centre-back. I think his best minutes for Bradford City have come as a right centre-back, rather than a right wing back. I could massively understand the debate either way. I don't think we're really going to need to worry about his injuries too much, because we've got Baldwin to play right centre half, we've got Halliday to play right wing back, so I really don't know. It's one that I'm massively torn on, one that could go either way. I think I would just edge to keep him around for next season, just to have a bit of consistency going into next year, but I could really understand the argument either way. He has done obviously very well in the minutes that he's had this season, but recently has even struggled to make it into the matchday squad, so I really don't know what's going to happen with Johnson. I'm going to assume there's an appearance-based clause in his contract potentially. Done very well in the minutes that he's had, so I'd keep him around for next year. And without a doubt, the hardest player to discuss and debate in today's video is Sam Walker. Obviously, signed 18 months ago as the Harry Lewis replacement, did very well in the second half of last year. There was the odd goal where he maybe could have done a little bit better with. Coming into this season, I had very high expectations of Sam Walker, and I think on the whole, has done well for Bradford City. There has been a decent amount of goals this year I think he'll be disappointed with. For example, the Carlisle at home goal, that's the one that obviously does stand out the most. I think there was a goal away at Grimsby in the league, the first goal, where I think the wind maybe caught him out of position a little bit. You look at Cheltenham away, I know there's a bit of movement on that ball, and there's a few others in there as well where I do think he will be a little bit disappointed with. I think coming for crosses at times is good, but then there's also times I think he's glued to his line a little bit. I'm just so massively torn with Sam Walker, because I do think he's been a great servant, even though he's only been here for 18 months. I think he's bought into the football club. I think he's probably enjoying his football very much. But going into League 1 next season, do I believe Sam Walker will have the ability to keep Bradford City in League 1? I really don't know. I really, really do not know. This is almost impossible for me to decide. If we've already got Joe Hilton going into next year, we don't really know what he's all about. Zach Hady's going out on loan, Colin Doyle staying on as a goalkeeping coach. I'm really, really confused. I actually do think Sam Walker will stay around. Do I think he's good enough to be playing regularly in League 1 next season for Bradford City? We have Joe Hilton as another option, but because I don't know of Joe Hilton's ability, it's really, really hard to say. It's almost impossible. I'm going to make the hard decision. I'm going to say I think we should look to improve on Sam Walker in this summer. That is honestly an incredibly hard decision. If he is to move on, brilliant servant, can't thank him enough for what he's done for Bradford City. I think he's probably our vice captain as well, after obviously Smallwood and Patterson. You see him get the armband quite a lot as well, but yeah, it's a really, really hard decision. Alexander has got some massively tough decisions to make. I'm glad this is only a piece of content and we can have a bit of a debate in the discussion. Alexander actually has to make these decisions. That is an incredibly tough job to have. Now, if everything that I've just suggested there does happen, here is how Bradford City squad will be looking at going into next season. As you can see, there's a lot of positions that do need some improvement. There is other players and positions that don't really need much improvement. I definitely think that we're going to need to bring in a couple of centre-halves. The goalkeeper one will massively depend on Sam Walker. Right wing-back will depend on if Callum Johnson stays or not. I think we're definitely going to need another hold midfielder. We saw when we lost Smallwood how detrimental that was to Bradford City. I think we'll get an attacking midfielder or two in as well. We're definitely going to need a couple of strikers. So it's a busy window upcoming for Bradford City. I'll have my transfer target videos coming out very soon for free transfers, transfer fees and loans, all that type of stuff that could potentially be coming for Bradford City. That was incredibly tough for me to do. Get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Who needs to stay and leave Bradford City going into this summer? Again, if any player is to stay or leave, they're all, every single one of them, all 34, 35 of them, absolute legends. Thank you so much for getting Bradford City promoted. It is definitely not anything personal. It's just football at the end of the day. And obviously a player, as you can see on the screen highlighted in light blue, is currently on loan at Bradford City, and if they're obviously in italics, then they are at a contract with the football club as well. Don't forget to drop a like on there for me. 250 likes, as I mentioned at the start of today's video, would be massively appreciated. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. We are on the road to 12,000 subscribers, trying to hit that by the start of the League One season as well. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.